Welcome everyone to a new episode of the Dragon Age lore. I know last week I said that I will talk about some mysteries of Thedas, but I found out that collecting information about these mysteries will take some time, so I'm still working on it, but until I finish, let's talk this week about the Darkspawn, or the Blight in general. Deep below the surface of Thedas stares danger waiting to erupt to the surface. This danger is named the Darkspawn, a twisted life form of rot and disease, commanded by a corrupted dragon called the Archdemon. 5 times the Archdemons rose and nearly wiped out all living things in what is known as a Blight, and 5 times the Grey Wardens heroically stopped the Darkspawn and sent them back under the ground after slaying the Archdemon. No one knows exactly why blights happen in Thedas. All the Grey Warden know is that the Darkspawn steer below the ground looking for a sleeping dragon old god so that they can corrupt it and start a full-on war on the surface. Honestly, not many people argue on the why question, as the amount of damage, death and destruction that the blight leaves behind renders the why irrelevant. So what actually happens when a blight starts? The Grey Wardens teach that the old Tevinter gods of old are buried deep beneath the ground, and that Darkspawn keeps searching for one of these dragons and they corrupt it. Once the dragon is corrupted, it is turned into an archdemon, and all the twisted creatures starts advancing to the surface, leaving in their wake death, rot and moisture that blackens the land and withers the plants. Even the sky is filled with black clouds that blocks out the sun. The effects of the blight are so persistent, even years after the blight have ended, it's still there. In all but the 5th blight, the blights have historically brought all civilization to the brink of extinction, right before the Grey Wardens swooped in and saved the day. Not many people can say that they saw an archdemon. What we know about them comes from the Grey Wardens. An intelligent, albeit fearsome creature with rotting, ugly teeth, purple scales and bent wings. The archdemon calls all of the tainted creatures over great distances. Even the Grey Wardens hear such call. They say it resembles a strange song that is stuck at the back of their minds. The more corrupted you get, the more loud and vivid the song gets. The Darkspawn are consumed completely by this song and cannot think of anything else but uncovering its source. There are 7 old gods, 5 of which have risen as corrupted archdemons and started a blight. Dumat, the Dragon of Silence, with its discovery the first blight started, and it was ended by its death in the Battle of the Silent Plains. Zazikil, the Dragon of Chaos, bringer of the second blight, who brought an unimaginable destruction to the world, was killed at the Battle of Starkhaven. As an old god, Zazikil was the god of freedom. Thoth, the Dragon of Fire, died at the Battle of Hunterfell, which ended the 3rd blight. Andoril, the Dragon of Slaves, killed by the legendary Warden Garahel at the Battle of Isley, thus ending the 4th blight. Yorthirmiel, the Dragon of Beauty, harbinger of the 5th blight, awoken in Ferelden by Darkspawn called the Architect. It was killed at Fort Draken in the Battle of Denram, and with its death was the end of the shortest of all the blights, lasting for only 1 year. Razikale, a Dragon of Mystery, still sleeping, and Lusakan, the Dragon of Night, also still sleeping. According to the Orlegian Chantry teachings, Darkspawn is the result of what they called the Second Sin. They were originally Tevinter mages who got physically into the Fade and touched the Golden City, where the godly seat of the Maker is, and with them doing so, turned the Heavenly City into a black, corrupted one. As punishment, they were cast out, sinful and tainted. They transformed into the first Darkspawn, and as they carried the taint to others, more Darkspawn was created. However, this is not what Tevinter Chantry teaches, as they believe the Darkspawn was not of their Magister's creation. Darkspawn are described as pale creatures with black ichor seeping out of their eyes and mouth and flowing within their bodies. They do not require sustenance, as the taint does the job. The taint also helps with regenerating health among Darkspawn, sometimes even regeneration of lost limbs, as seen with the Architect. He loses his hands throughout the events of the Calling book, and in Awakening DLC he is seen with his hands grown back. Darkspawn see better in the dark. Even during the Blight, when the sun is blocked by Blight magic, they are still more lively and active during the night than during the day. If a person is tainted with a Darkspawn infection, their mind and body wither away slowly, until at the end there is nothing remaining of them but a snarling ghoul. All Darkspawn are born of a Broodmother, a female of any given race, kidnapped by the Darkspawn and dragged into the deep, getting violated, ravaged, tortured, and even force-fed tainted tissue by the Darkspawn until she is not herself anymore. That's when a Broodmother starts birthing dozens of Darkspawn with each litter. All her spawns are from her former race. Elven Broodmothers births Shrieks, Dwarven Broodmothers births Genlock, Human Broodmother births Hurlock, and finally the Kossith Broodmother births Ogre. A Broodmother in average births around 20 to 50 children. They emerge from her as toddlers already walking around. They develop very fast during the first couple of weeks, and they are known to fight among themselves in order to weed out the weaker ones. From time to time, one of these children will be much more powerful than the others, and it will end up killing the rest of the litter. This Darkspawn is called an Alpha. It is generally bigger and stronger and even wearing better armor. It always takes control of the weaker ones. Some of these powerful alphas can tap into magic as powerful as that of the Magisters of Tevinter. The Wardens dub them emissaries, and they mostly show themselves on the surface during the Blight. Their magic is channeling power from a strange form of blood magic, or what is known as Blight magic. Although most of the Darkspawn don't speak beyond hisses and grunts, one cannot really call them stupid, as they are proven intelligent and cunning and capable of forming good battle tactics that can turn the tide of any battle. The Genlock can craft some crude and powerful, albeit ugly weapons, maybe as a remnant of their dwarven origin. Also, even though their grunts and hisses are not technically a language, they can still understand each other. A call for help of an intruder or an alarm can be always understood by other Darkspawn. When there is no Archdemon to control and organize them, the Darkspawn chain of command falls into chaos. An Alpha can take command and split the horde among themselves and vie for more dominance. The only thing keeping Darkspawn from threatening anyone but the ones who venture into their territory is their lack of coherence or unity. But still, there are some rare examples of hyper-intelligent Darkspawn that is capable of not only speech but also organized thought. One of such Darkspawn is called the Architect, who was able to ignore and resist the call of the Old God and led other Darkspawn towards common cause. He was also capable of questioning what was the purpose of his twisted race. During the events of the Awakening DLC, we realized that his plan was to find a middle ground where Darkspawn can be free from the Old God call and free from the impulses of killing indiscriminately. He tried to end future blights by harvesting Grey Warden blood and administer this Grey Warden blood to the Darkspawn, thus freeing them from their connection to the Archdemon. Another intelligent Darkspawn is Gryphius, a powerful Darkspawn that was believed to be one of the first Magisters to enter the Black City. He was sealed away by the Grey Wardens, and in the Dragon Age freed and killed by Hawk and Varictethras. I wonder how well did it go. The first Blight lasted for more than 100 years. Entire generations of people lived and died during the hard times. Many thought that this is actually the end of days. This was until a group of elves, dwarves, and humans banded together in the fortress of Weishapt. They abandoned old flags and holdings and took it upon themselves to try and end the Blight. They took extreme measures like drinking the blood of the Darkspawn so that they can sense their foes and hear the call of the Archdemon. They mounted their noble companion the Griffins and turned the tide of battles. They pushed deeper into the hearts of Darkspawn and finally slew the Archdemon. From this day on, the Grey Wardens were the heroes and protectors of Thedas. Ever vigilant, they managed to stop all blights from wiping out populations. After the events that kick-started the first Blight of the Winter Magister stepping physically into the Golden City and the Darkspawn being unleashed upon the world, the Tevinter people turned to the remaining old gods to help them against Dumat, but sadly they were met by silence. Feeling they were betrayed, the people stopped believing in their own gods. But after 90 years of fighting against Darkspawn, the Grey Warden Orders, as said before, was formed in the Weishapt fortress near Tevinter, yet strategically away from the hordes of Darkspawn. After taking to the joining ritual, hardened Wardens experienced with fighting Darkspawn pushed into the heart of the Blight, winning more and more ground while building more fortresses into reclaimed lands. By that time, the Wardens were mainly Tevinter, Rivain, and Serene soldiers, joined forces in the Battle of Silent Plains, and finally slew the Archdemon Dumat, and ending the First Blight. After more than 100 years of fighting, the Wardens used this victory to try and conscript more Wardens, but the newly saved people highly doubted that there will ever be any more Blights. And boy, were they wrong. The second Blight started in the Anderfell, with the rise of Zazikel. The city of Husberg fell to a Darkspawn siege, and the population was down to just one man when the Wardens came in to save the day. The hordes of Darkspawn started from the west and moved east, sweeping the whole continent. Tevinter eventually gave up on the Anderfell to protect itself, a betrayal still remembered until this very day. Orlais and the Free Marches as well were in a bad situation until the Grey Wardens, under the command of the brilliant Emperor Draken of Orlais, made all the difference. They made great progress in the Battle of Cumberland in 116 Divide. Meanwhile, Minrathous was being sacked by the Darkspawn and Tevinter was feeling it. Also, the armies marched north to the fortress of Weishapt and helped the Grey Wardens greatly to save the fortress, and because the Warden was so impressed by Emperor Draken, they converted to the Chantry, and together they moved further north to help the Anderfells. In the year 195, the Battle of Starkhaven was won, led by an army of mostly human Wardens. The Archdemon Dazikel was slain and trade and culture flourished, and people again thought that this was the end of the Blights. But then, in 310 Towers, the old god Thoth awakened from its slumber. The hordes of the Third Blight ravaged through both Orlais and Tevinter. The Tevinter cities of Marnaspel and Virantum, along with some Orlesian cities from Chernow to Montsemar, all got overwhelmed by the Darkspawn. The Grey Wardens from both countries united. They managed to push back the Darkspawn despite huge losses. The Darkspawn never relented. They kept pushing east, and by the year 318 Towers, the Free Marches was ravaged. All the city-state and the Minotaur River was attacked, but Orlais and Tevinter did nothing at first, until the Grey Wardens kept pressuring them into sending aid. The Wardens, along with the unified army of Tevinter and Orlais, led a ferocious battle in 325, where Thoth was killed along with an insane amount of Darkspawn that was rounded up in huge piles and burned. Right after the victory, Orlais and Tevinter started occupying the surviving city-states of the Free Marches. Tevinter took Hunterfell and Orlais took Nevara. Both managed to gain independence later throughout history. During the Exalted Marches against Tevinter that started in the Black Age, the old god Andoril woke in 512 Exalted. The Darkspawn erupted from the northeast and the north side of the continent, and Tiva was overrun so fast and the whole ruling family was slain. Then the Darkspawn started pouring into the Free Marches, and Rivain, the Anderfell and Hosberg fell yet again to Darkspawn's siege. Orlais and Tevinter was not hit as bad as the Free Marches during the Fourth Blight, so when they pushed back the small forces of Darkspawn away from their borders, Tevinter didn't even bother to send any kind of help. Orlais, on the other hand, sent a very small token force. So the Grey Warden stepped up. Garahel led the Anders and an army of Wardens to Hosberg to break the siege, and gathered Orlesian and Anderfell alike and formed an army with an alliance of the Free Marches kings, an army under the banner of the Wardens. They managed to free Antiva and the city of Islay, where Garahel managed to kill Andoril and end the Fourth Blight. And because the numbers of slain Dragon Age was so great, people thought that the Darkspawn armies can never recover from this, and that was the last Blight Thedas will ever have to face ever again. And yet, after decades of not seeing a single sign of any archdemons, when large number of Darkspawn started surfacing, people thought that it was some kind of anomaly. But the Grey Wardens of Ferelden knew better. The Ferelden Warden Commander Duncan rushed to bolster the number of the Grey Wardens as he felt the call of the archdemon Urthermiel. The events of Dragon Age Origins plays a role on how the hero of Ferelden managed to end the Fifth Blight, but in the end the archdemon Urthermiel was slain on the top of Fort Draken in the Battle of Denerim. This is basically what we know about the Blights and the Darkspawn. There are little details that I could talk into more details about, but I think these little details go well with a video about the Grey Wardens more than a video about the Darkspawn. Thank you so much for listening. I really hope you enjoy this, and as I said before, I am still working on the mysteries of Thedas. Don't worry, I did not forget about it, and see you next week. Thank you. Goodbye.